Everyone, let's solve 2025 AMC 8 problems. And in this part, we will be doing questions from 11 to 15. Now, as we progress further, the questions from the AMC 8 paper will become slightly harder. But you should know that we have done question number 1 to 5 and 5 to 10 in previous videos. So just do go watch those videos and then come to this part. Obviously, the questions in this part are harder, but we will understand different strategies to go about these problems. And if you go along the video, you will also understand these ideas that will make your calculations faster and will help you score a good score in the AMC 8. So we will start with question number 11. Going on to question number 11, the question says, a tetromino consists of four squares connected along their edges. So tetromino is nothing but like a Tetris game that you would have played earlier. It says there are five possible shapes I, O, L, T, and S, which are shown below, which can be rotated or flipped over. Now, this is something to be, reading through carefully, that these shapes can be rotated or these shapes can be flipped over. Now, if we read through the problem, three tetraminors are used to completely cover a 3 cross 4 rectangle. So the shapes can be rotated or flipped over. Moreover, a 3 cross 4 rectangle, which is given at the bottom, three of these shapes are used to complete them. And at least one tile is an S tile, which means S tile is used for sure. What are the other two tiles? Now, this is a great thinking problem. If you go about, thinking about it, it will take you some time to understand this because this is relatively, slightly harder to understand. And you will have to take cases in this problem because I have to place necessarily S on my tile. If S would have been in this position, the way it has been shown in the figure, then there's only one way to place it, which is this way. Otherwise, because if I place it anywhere else, it will look like this, let's say here, then in that case, it will be difficult to fit in any other shape, right? Or for example, if I fit in the shape, let's say here, then also it will be difficult to fit in anything else, right? Because I even if I fit in something here, which is 3 cross 3, I can fit in one more thing, which is here. So that's done. So there it can be placed for sure, right? So one of the positions I can fit in the tetromino, like it has been drawn right now, is this, which is one. For if I place it here, I will need an L to finish this and another L to finish this. Now, if you look at the shape, you can see that this is an inverted L, this is also an inverted L, and this is an S. So that's one way to fix this. So if at least one of the tiles is an S tile, then I can take two L tiles and fit it in, right? And my answer should be L and L. But if you take all of the possibilities also, then also you will see L and L will work for you. If you're able to do it in one possibility, well and good. You should also consider the other possibilities for your S being placed. For example, one of the other possibilities that we explored just now was this where I could place an S. Now to think about what other shapes could be placed in, L could be placed like this and L could be placed like this, and I am done. Other ways that I could place the S is this way, which is I could place it like this. Now here it cannot be placed because obviously it will leave only one block, but we can shift it slightly to the right or slightly to the left and see. For example, I can place the S here now for like this. Now this will again leave space for two L's if you look at it carefully, 1 and 2. So no matter which way S is placed and flipped, we have to be careful of what is the part remaining. And if you're able to look at one of the possibilities as to what are the other two shapes that are needed along with S to cover this 3 cross 4 rectangle, you will be done. So that is why this is an easy question, but there is a lot more thinking behind the question that goes, right? So that is why we will say L and L is the other tile that is required. Let's go over the next problem now. The question says the region below shows 24 squares, each with side length 1 centimeter. Now, what is the area in the square centimeters of the largest circle that you can fit inside this region, possibly touching the boundaries? Now, one answer that most of the students can come up with is that I can place a square like this, touching my, covering my square inside, and that's the largest circle. But if you would look at it, it just would touch at the circle at most at one point, right? Which is this or this point, and this point, which is just four of the points, right? It will not go beyond and touch this point. So if I look at this circle, this is just of radius 2, and most of the students would say radius is 2. Area of a circle formula pi r square, so pi 2 square, 4 pi, and my answer is 4 pi. But what if I tell you that there's even a slightly tad bit larger circle that you can still fit it in, right? Now that's not something you will be able to imagine. So should I say, could I mark 5 pi as my answer or 6 pi as my answer? How slightly larger can it be? So let's understand the logic behind it. So with estimation, obviously you can mark 5 pi as your answer because that would work out. 6 pi would be slightly too bigger, so 6 pi is not a good option to choose for. 4 pi is incorrect because I can have a slightly larger circle. 5 pi is the most approximate answer you can go for. But that's all hidden error and trial and error that you're taking. Now, that smaller circle which you fit in this 4 cross 4 square is slightly lesser in value. I can make a square which touches 8 of the boundary points if you look at. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 and 8. If I make a circle like that, it will be slightly bigger in value as compared to your value for the circle that you had drawn earlier because it would go beyond. And it would cross the circle at 8 different points. The initial one was touching it at only 4 points. This one will touch it at 8 different points. Now, how do we find out the radius of this circle? The center is still the center of the figure, right? And I want the radius of the circle, which would be approximately touching this line where the circle is tangent. I will use the word tangent to say that the circle touches the region touches the circle exactly at that one point. Now to find this region out, it is very easy. You can spot a triangle like this and apply Pythagoras. The triangle has the base as 1 centimeter or 1 unit and your height is 2 units, so 2 square, which makes it square root of. So the radius is of the circle we have found out using Pythagoras because this is r, this is 1 and this is 2. So r is 1 plus 2 square, which is root 5 as the radius. And if I want to find out the area of the circle will be pi times r square, which is root 5 square, which will be 5 pi. So 5 pi is not just an approximation, but it's the exact answer because I have used Pythagoras to take this triangle and find out its radius. So choosing 4 pi is one mistake that students can make in this question, and largely most of the students might get this question as incorrect, but you have to be smarter and use your strategies to go about it. Let's understand the 13th question now. It says each of the even numbers 2, 4, 6, and 50 is divided by 7. The remainders are recorded. Which histogram displays the number of times each remainder occurs? So what you can do is you can obviously find out the remainders of all the even numbers. For example, 2, 4, 6, they will all give you the remainder as 2, 4, and 6 itself. So 1 number each because they're all less than 7. And if you keep proceeding further, for example, 8 will leave you a remainder 1, 9 will leave you a remainder 2, and so on. So you've already got 2 numbers which are leaving you a remainder of 2. But the question is not about finding out the remainders. Obviously, you can go about it, then make and check your histogram, whichever is coming out correct, whether that's right or incorrect, right? So, one way could have been 9 we will not do because it's not an even number, so that has been placed incorrectly. 9 will not be your answer. 10 will be the next number that you will use, and then that will give you a 3 as your remainder. And you will see then there's no pattern that's coming out, right? Because if you do 12, then it comes out to be 5. If you do 14, then it comes out to be 0. And you one way is that you keep doing it. The other way could have been that you observe a pattern, but we cannot see any pattern. The finding out remainder method is too long because the numbers are till 50. Obviously, you can spend you can spend some 2 to 3 minutes finding out all the remainders and then looking for a histogram. That's one way about it. But there's no pattern. Had there been any pattern, we would have solved it. However, there's also an option which you can do, which is to find the remainders or find your answer by the options. Now, first thing you look at are how many numbers will be there which will leave you a remainder 0. Because remainder 0, I have been given either 4 or 3 as in the options, if you can see. Now, numbers which are even and are divisible by 7, the first number I can think of is 14, obviously because it is divisible. Then I can think of 28 as the next multiple of 7, which is even. So 7 twos are 14, 7 fours are 28, and the next number that I can think of is 42, which is 7 times 6. If I go beyond numbers after this, then it will become greater than 50, which I do not want. So there are only three numbers which are leaving my remainder as 0. So can I say option number D and option number E cancel out, because for remainder 0, they are giving me 4 as the number while it is actually 3. So that works out. Now, if I look at option A, B, C, they're almost looking the same up till remainders 2, because all of them have three numbers with remainder 0, four numbers with remainder 1, and four numbers with remainder 2. But remainder 3 is different for all three of them. For two of them, it is 4, and for one, it is 3. So let's look at all the numbers which will leave me a remainder of 3. Now, leaving the remainder 3, the first number that comes to my mind is 7 plus 3, which is 10. So, is an even number, which will leave a remainder of 3. Now, next I want to find out would be 10 plus 7, 17. However, 17 is not an even number. So, again, I will add in 7. So, 17 is the next number which will leave a remainder 3. How did I directly get 17? Because I just added 7. However, 17 is not in my list. So, next number again added 7 to it, which is 34. So, 34, if you look at, will also leave a remainder 3 for you. Right? Next, if I look at, sorry, it'll be 24, not 34. Next number, if I look at you, will be 10 plus 7. Again, it will be 31, which is an odd number, is not in my list. 31 and 7 makes it 38, again leaving a remainder of 3. So these are the three numbers which are leaving a remainder of 3. Now, if I add 7 once again, it will give me a 45, which is not an even number. And adding 7 again will go beyond the list, which is 52. So not acceptable. So can I say that there are only three numbers, 10, 24, and 38, that leave me a remainder of 3? So which means again option B and option C still cancel out, and my answer that I get is option number A. So instead of finding out the remainders and then making a histogram, I compared the different options and used the strategy of going by the options. Let's look at the next question now. It says a number n is inserted into the list 2, 6, 7, 7, and 28. The mean is now twice as great as the median. Now, if I look at the list, the median is the number that occurs as the middlemost number. Now, number occurring as the middlemost number is 7 and 7, because these are five numbers. We will take the average of the middlemost. We will take the middlemost term, and the middlemost term is just 7. So we don't have to do anything here. The middlemost number is the median, which is 7. I have been given that the mean is twice as the median. The new mean is twice as the median. So it will be 2 times 7, which is 14. Now 14 is the new median and all my numbers added 2, 6, 7, 7 and 28 plus the new number divided by the number of terms. There'll be 6 terms, should give me the mean as 14 because the formula for mean is the sum of the numbers divided by the number of the observations. So my observations are 2, 6, 7, 7 and 28. When I get these numbers, I'm getting my answer as I will add all the numbers and I will take n as the sum that I have to add to it. I want to find out that number. Remember, median is the middlemost number, while the average is the sum of the numbers divided by the number of terms. So adding 2, 6, 7, 7 and 28 will give me 50 as the sum. So it's 50 plus n divided by 6 is 15. I will multiply 14 and 6. It will give me an answer as 84. So I'll get 14 plus n is 84. And the answer to n then will be the remaining number, which is 34 as my answer. So the question you have to read carefully that the mean is twice as great as the median. Median is the middlemost number and you have mean sum of observations divided by the number of observations. So the idea is nothing but just to read through and know the definitions for your mean and median. Questions in statistics are usually easier and are scoring. So look for such questions but know your definitions quite clearly. Most of the students do not know mean, median, mode and finding those out. That is why they miss these questions out. But it is important that you know the concept behind them so that you can easily score on such questions. Let's get to the next question now. The next question is an interesting question. It says, he draws a 6 by 6 grid and he colors 13 of the unit squares as silver and the remaining as gold. Now, if you look at it, there are 13 silver painted and the remaining, because it's a 6 cross 6 grid, there'll be 36 total of the squares. So if 13 have been already painted as silver, 23 will be painted as gold. Now, after painting this, they then fold the grid half vertically. So it's folded along this line that has been showed in the figure. It says, now if you fold it, obviously there'll be pairs that overlap each other. M is the number that is the greatest possible and the minimum most possible gold on gold pairs, which means how many gold overlap each other. We have to find out the value of M plus N. Now, this is an interesting question, keeping in mind that it's slightly harder and there's a strategy that goes behind thinking the idea. Okay. Now, thinking about when will you get maximum possible number of gold pairs. Now, let's see what happens if you take all silver pairs. That is, we are taking a case where all silver pairs coincide each other. Now, if all silver pairs coincide, we can see that there are 13 silvers. To have the silvers coincide each other, we will only have half and half of them. So obviously 12 silvers will be coinciding each other and I'll get 6 such pairs. One thing you should also know is that because there'll be 36 in total squares, there'll be only half number of pairs, which is there are in total of an 18 pairs, right? Now, out of which if 6 pairs are all silver, no gold has been wasted to mix with silver. So all gold, which are 23 gold, except for one, which will pair with one silver from here and one gold from here. So there'll be 22 golds which will pair against each other and there'll be 11 pairs. So I haven't used any gold anywhere else except for that one extra that has been used with one silver. So there are 6 pairs of silver, 11 pairs of gold, and one silver, one gold, which means 11 pairs is the maximum value that you can get for a gold pair because you haven't used any value any gold other than that to make a one silver and a one gold. Now thinking about the least value. Now least value can be slightly harder, which means m is 11, right? Now, for the least value, which means small m, we have to think about wasting all our golds on either silver gold pair, yeah, on silver gold pairs, right? Now, how many maximum silver gold pairs can we form? Now, silver gold pairs can be formed if we use all silvers in making silver golds. That is no silver silver combination, otherwise, gold gold combination will happen. That is why if there are 13 silvers, I will need 13 golds to make these pairs. Now, if I've used all 13 golds or some of the 13 golds to make or pair with silver, I'm talking about utilizing them to make an SG pair. Why is this? What is this SG pair? SG pair is one silver, one, which means 13 of the pairs are silver and gold, and the remaining, remember, 5 pairs, because in total there'll be 18 pairs. 13 pairs are made of silver and gold, so 5 pairs now. This is also what you can think about because 23 golds were there, 13 you have used to club with silvers, there are only 10 remaining. So now half of it, only 5 pairs can be formed. So 5 pairs is the minimum number of gold pairs that you can make. So small m value will be 5. Now if I have to find out m plus m, that's very easy. The thinking only went in forming the values, which is 16. So my answer is 16. So how the thinking that you have to do here is how will you get the maximum value when you make more gold pairs? And do not waste any gold with making or clubbing it with a silver. And when will you get a minimum value of gold on gold pairs? That is when you will get when you'll utilize all your silvers in making silver gold pairs. That is 13 pairs. Now, they have asked you the number of pairs and not the silvers or golds. So you have to be careful on forming the number of pairs. Hence, 16 is your answer. So slightly harder to think about, but it is a really good question of thinking about how these pairs are made. Hope you would have understood the idea or the problems here and the strategies used, and that will help you solve questions from 11 to 15. Remember, 11 to 15 problems are not very hard. You just have to do a bit more thinking.